I mean, they've not got an inflation-busting pay rise, have they? I mean, I think that's why they've gone on strike today, and they've been very clear.
They can't have both.
Well, they've been very clear time and time again that one of the reasons why they're on strike is because they are worried that there aren't enough staff who are maintaining the railways. I've got a survey result here from people who work and maintain tracks. These are not well-paid people who are greedily trying to hoover up more money to go and spend on holidays abroad or whatever. These are people who aren't paid a huge amount of money. And it's saying here that nearly 90% of them think that cuts to track maintenance will put passengers at greater risk. I mean, that's a serious problem that they're fighting for here. So there's a lot of complexity behind why people are calling for these strikes. But look, let's zoom out for a second. We're in a situation where Britain is the wealthiest it's ever been. It's wealthier than it was when it had an empire that stretched across the world. And money is not being handed down to those people who primarily earn their living from wages. A lot of it is sucked up to the wealthiest in society. And that at heart is what this is about. It's people railing against the system that has not worked for them for a number of decades now.
Kelvin, I mean, you can perhaps remind us a bit of the 70s, not to be rude, but surely unions are there to protect workers from exploitative employers. They're not there to racketeer pay rises from the public purse.
Well, I think it's a very old-fashioned view to think that the trade union movement is there to protect the workers. We've got
labour market regulation, Kelvin, I guess.
We have rules on employment. We have rules on discrimination. We have laws coming out of our backside to deal with those kinds of issues. This is just straightforward. This is just straightforward bullying. You're a commuter. Either the taxpayer is going to fund RMT's demands, or you see the trouble with the RMT right now is, I mean, these are nationalised industries. So the 25% you talked about, there is no money. Everybody's losing money. Did you know that on a Sunday, the Sunday work is unbelievable, really, in this day and age? The Sunday work for the railways is not something that you have to be rostered on for. It's actually something which you either volunteer for or you don't turn up. These kinds of things have to be got rid of, right? Let's just get rid of them. And I then suggest that the RMT could probably get a decent pay rise. I am not going to drop a tear for ASLEF making, I don't know, 50, 75,000, 100,000 a year, whatever they're making, right? I'm sure they're not worth it. But however, through leverage, they get it. So they're going to have to give something up. Why don't they just come halfway? Why don't they buy a lottery ticket? I'm not in favour of banning strike, but I am in favour of some kind of fairness in the negotiation.
Strong stuff from Kelvin, but isn't that one of the points what Kelvin made there? You know, something has got to give. You know, we see the fact that there are ticket offices still staffed and manned at stations where, you know, only a handful of tickets are ever sold in that way. We've got machines, we've got automation coming down the line potentially. There are so many ways in which jobs have been protected which aren't productive and, dare I say it, aren't needed anymore, that hark back to the Victorian times, basically. And if you were running a business and you'd seen your revenue go down, your passenger numbers drop, you'd have to make savings. And is that not what has to happen here? This money doesn't come from, you know, a magic money tree. It does come from the public purse. And let's remember, most people don't even use the trains.
You're painting a picture there of British Railways being in, I think you almost said it, a Victorian state of you know, in existence. And that's not the case. There's huge penetration of technologies into railways. We're not in a situation where the tiniest stations have an abundance of staff sitting around doing nothing. I mean, the other day I was on a train that ended up getting cancelled because there weren't enough staff to man the train. And really needed someone to talk to, but there was no one there at the ticket office. We use in the media, we often use these narratives, or they're often used that make it sound like there's a bunch of well-paid people sitting around doing nothing and demanding high wages. That's not what is happening here. You got a situation where the British rail companies, the companies that provide railways in Britain, often they are dependent on the state. So in that way, they might be they act like they're nationalised, but they're still moving profits out of the country. If you go to some train stations, you'll see the German nationalised public railway logo on some of the trains because of that. That's the situation we find ourselves in this country, where some companies have been given the right to run some of these trains and they're sucking money out of this country, right? But the bigger thing here, there's a bigger thing here, which is that we've found ourselves in a situation after many decades of certain laws and other things leading to a situation where work is becoming less paid, wages have stagnated more than they have for a very long time. And that's not because the country has suddenly been hit by some
Comparing
cataclysm.
apples with pears